Professor, this is Bhavya Sai Yellanki Narendra. So I am from Fall 2021 batch. So today I would like to present my operating system project, which is on Linux operating system. So I would like to start with introduction of Linux. So here the Linux kernel is the foundation of open source Unix like operating system community. So this Linux was first released on September 17th, 1991 by Linus Torvalds. So it's a free open source operating system which can be used by anybody. A Linux distribution is a collection of software based on the Linux kernels that runs on the computer. So the primary aim of an operating system is to provide a platform where any user can run any program conveniently and very efficiently. So the next slide refers to the architecture of Linux. So here we could see the architecture of Linux operating system. So it consists of many components like kernel, system library, shell, system utility. So kernel is the center of the Linux operating system. It's the most important component in Linux architecture. And coming to the system library, it's a special type of function used to implement operating system functionality. And the next component is shell. It's a user interface to the kernel that hides the kernel's complexity from the user. And it receives user commands and executes kernel functions. Next component is system utility. It provides the user with OS functionality. So this is the brief introduction on architecture of Linux. So the next slide refers to the versions of Linux operating system. So there are so many versions. So the first version is 0.01. So this version is released on 1983 by Torvalds. So it became so popular as it is a free software and users are considering a variety of applications and utilities. And the next version, which is 1.0, it got released in March 1994. So you can run multiple programs and other programs at the same time in this version. And here the virtual memory management is supported. And the next version is 2.0. So it released in June 1996. The reason this version was released is to improve memory management and modern approach for rebuild task planning. And the next version is 3.0. So it released in July 2011. So the reason for this release is to address better virtualized systems. It also provides additional data cleaning and automatic defragmentation. And coming to the version 4.0, so it released in April 2015. A small release is created to clean up the virtual machine. So in addition to that, we have added this version of Proton and NUMA processing. And the next version is 5.0. So this version published in 2019 and will concentrate on security patches such as Meltdown and Spectra. So this is about the versions of Linux operating system. And the next slide is about Linux design goals. So here, the Linux operating system is a Unix-like open source operating system developed by the Linux community for servers, computers, frames, mobile phones, and embedded devices. So system files offer all Unix semantics capability, which is arranged using the standard Unix operating system network paradigm. Almost all major computer platforms, including SPARC, x86, and ARM, are supported by the Linux operating system. So here, the kernel is defined by the Software Foundation and is licensed under the GPL and GNU. So GPL refers to General Public License. So these are the Linux design goals. And the next slide refers to the memory management in Linux. So the memory management subsystem is one of the most important elements of the operating system. The most practical technique for solving this problem is virtual memory. So virtual memory creates the impression that the system has more memory than it does by sharing memory across competing processes when it is needed. So all Windows struggle to run apps written for Windows or POSIX without crashing into memory. The RAM given by the Windows environment is expected by your application. In Linux memory management, memory is usually in the form of RAM, which is random access memory. One of the most important features of Linux is memory management. The processing process previously required more memory than the hardware could give. So this is about the memory management of Linux. And so this slide refers to the virtual memory, which is used in the Linux. So virtual storage has a strategy to successfully overcome its limitations. Virtual memory works better with computing. So it allows process to have a separate address space. If a process is needed, virtual memory needs to free memory for other systems. And we could see the process of virtual memory here, which is referred in this diagram. So all addresses in virtual memory are virtual addresses, but not physical addresses. So the processor uses the information in the OS managed tables to transform the virtual system address into a physical address. So this is about the virtual memory, which is used in Linux. And this slide refers to the process management in Linux operating system. So the process management or managing process is an integral aspect of the operating system. Process switching, process memory, interrupt management, signaling, and process planning are all aspects that Linux has in common with Unix. The processor takes over the task dependent on the operating system. Data and machine code instructions are stored in a disk-based executable program. So Linux is also referred to as multiple processing OS. Each CPU in the system follows its same path, such as virtual address space, and cannot communicate with each other processors except through the kernel and secure management methods. During its lifespan, a process uses a lot of system resources. So this is about the process management in Linux operating system. So the next slide refers to the device management in Linux. So here, the hardware components are being managed by device management with the help of device drivers and device controllers. So Linux device independence is one of its strong features, allowing it to function on a wide ranging of device, nevertheless of hardware. So it has unique capability which allows it to accept new device drivers while the OS is still running. So the other design goal, which is very important goal in Linux, is Linux portability. Devices are treated similarly to Linux OS files. So this is about the device management in Linux. So this current slide refers to the security management in Linux operating system. So the security is very important for every operating system, and this particular Linux provides high security in all the systems. So we could see the process of the security management in this diagram. And the characteristics of a security management are file permissions, user accounts, data verification, encrypted storage, host integrity testing, software management, system recovery. So this is about the security management. And the organizations currently involved in Linux are mentioned below. So many organizations prefer to use Linux operating system because of high security and the memory management and the device management and also the file management. So the Linux is one of the most advanced operating system available today. So some of the top 10 companies I have mentioned here in this particular slide where Linux is being used. So the first one is Red Hat. So this corporation offers a variety of services and products, including cloud computing, mobile solutions, virtualization software, and storage. It also provides professional services such as certification, capacity building, and consulting. It is a well-known firm because it is the only one that has begun to promote Linux. So the Red Hat Corporation is using Linux since it started, and it started using right now. And the next one is Oracle. So Oracle is a well-known and large firm that will supply service and product information. So it is a Linux user that has developed its own Linux distribution. So Virex, which is called as Oracle Linux. So Java, databases, virtualization software, operating systems, and a slew of other amazing goods are all on offer. So Oracle is the topmost company which uses the Linux operating system, and it is still using the Linux operating system for being secure and memory management. And the next topmost company is Google. So here many people believe that Linux is the most popular operating system because it allows the online to function, and Google, in my opinion, it is an important aspect of the web. So Google also uses the Linux operating system. And the next company is Amazon. So this is another company whose servers run Linux. The biggest benefit is that we can scan the internet for web addresses. So this is the advantage in Linux operating system. Hence, Amazon uses this Linux. And the next company is Microsoft. It's a fantastic opportunity. It's true because Microsoft is a big fan of Linux. So it's still continuing to use Linux operating system. And the other company is IBM. So IBM also uses the Linux operating system, though there are so many operating systems like Mac, Windows. So it prefers using Linux operating system because of its memory management and security management. So these are the organizations which are currently involved in Linux operating system. So I would like to go to next slide. So which is the reference links. So I have created a research paper based on these reference links. So I have referred all these links and I have done my project on Linux operating system. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I have learned and have put so many research in this project. So I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.